They told her the dead could not speak, but the day Amaya Mirembe found her mother's name carved into a stranger's tombstone, the silence of the grave screamed louder than any living voice. The humid afternoon air twisted around her as she knelt before the stone, her heart thundering like it wanted to break free from her chest. Naledi Mirembe, her mother's name. The same gentle handwriting she remembered from old birthday cards, now etched in cold granite that belonged to someone she had never met. The dates didn't match. Nothing matched. It felt like the ground tilted beneath her feet, and just when confusion began turning into terror, a frail voice behind her whispered trembling, yet certain, child, your mother was never buried here. That name was placed to hide a truth she carried to her grave. Amaya spun around, breath sharp, as an old woman stepped out from the shadows of the acacia trees, eyes glinting like someone who had seen too much. Before we dive deeper, tell me, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you enjoy stories like this, feel free to subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next chapter. Amaya's pulse hammered in her ears as the old woman stepped closer, her cane sinking slightly into the damp earth. The cemetery around them felt suddenly smaller, as if the gravestones themselves leaned in to listen. Amaya swallowed hard, trying to steady her breath. Who are you? She managed. The old woman's eyes softened. People here call me Auntie Zawadi, but that is not important. What matters is that you should not be standing at this grave. Amaya stared at the tombstone again, her mother's name gleaming in the fading sunlight. But this is my mother's name. Why is it here? Who does this grave belong to, Auntie? Zawadi's answer came slowly, as if each word carried weight she could barely lift. It belongs to a story your mother tried her whole life to run from. The wind shifted, carrying the heavy scent of wild grass and damp earth. Amaya wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the heat. I don't understand, she said. My mother Naledi died 9 years ago. She was buried in the city. I visited her grave every year. Her voice cracked. She never mentioned this place. And she never would, Auntie Zawadi replied. This grave was made long before you were born. The old woman's gaze drifted toward the distant hills, as if she were watching ghosts walk across them. Your mother's life did not begin where you think it did. In her story, it was twisted by betrayal, greed, and a fear so deep it forced her to erase herself. Amaya felt her chest tighten. Then tell me the truth. Auntie Zawadi's face hardened, not out of cruelty but out of caution. Child, the truth is not something you touch lightly. It can change your path forever. Some truths burn. I don't care, Amaya whispered, voice trembling. I came here because I need answers about her past. She left me with nothing but questions. The old woman exhaled heavily, lips pursed as though debating with herself. Your mother wanted you safe. She wanted the past buried. Maybe she was wrong, Amaya said, stepping closer. Because I can't keep living in the dark. Auntie Zawadi studied her for a long moment. Then she spoke quietly but firmly. If you stay in this village long enough, the people who hunted your mother will come for you too. A chill sliced through Amaya. Hunted, yes. The word was sharp as a blade. Your mother was running from powerful people. Those people have not forgotten what she knew. Amaya's throat tightened. She felt the weight of 100 unspoken fears settle around her. But she refused to step back. What did she know? Auntie Zawadi shook her head. I cannot tell you everything. Not yet. But I will say this. That grave is a warning, not a memory. Amaya stared at it again. The stone felt suddenly sinister, as if hiding something poisonous beneath it. What does the date mean? She asked. Why is it from before I was born? Was it some kind of mistake? Mistake? Auntie Zawadi gave a breathless, humorless laugh. No, child. That date marks the day your mother died, at least in the eyes of those who wanted her gone. Amaya's blood ran cold. But she didn't die, she whispered. She survived, left this village and raised me. Yes, the old woman said. But to protect you, she had to let this village and the powerful men who ruled it believe she was gone forever. That tombstone was placed to close the chapter of her life here. It was the only way to save the baby she carried. Amaya blinked fast. Me, Auntie Zawadi nodded. Yes. You? Amaya staggered a step backward. The ground felt uneven beneath her feet, as though her entire world was shifting. My mother never told me any of this, she said. Why wouldn't she? Because truth draws danger, Auntie Zawadi said. Because truth makes the powerful desperate. And because your mother was living with a fear you have not yet begun to understand. Amaya's breath came in shallow waves. But the dates? This grave looks like it belongs to someone else entirely. Auntie Zawadi's expression tightened. Because it does. The old woman's silence after those words felt heavier than any explanation. What do you mean? Amaya asked. Whose grave is this really? Auntie Zawadi leaned on her cane, her voice lowering. Someone who died because of what your mother knew. Someone whose death had to be hidden. Someone whose story was tangled with hers. Amaya felt her stomach drop. Who? Auntie Zawadi hesitated. A child. The cemetery suddenly felt suffocating. Even the birds had fallen silent. A child? Amaya repeated, her voice small. Yes. Then why use my mother's name to make the world think your mother was also gone? To make sure the ones who caused that child's death believed the chapter had closed for good. Hiding two truths under one name was the only protection your mother had left. Amaya sank to the ground, gripping the edge of the tombstone with trembling fingers. Her mind churned, each thought sharp and disjointed. Had her mother lived in terror all those years, why had she kept such a dark secret? And who were these powerful people still watching Auntie Zawadi step closer? Listen carefully. You must leave this village tonight. Forget this cemetery. Forget this grave. Forget me. No, Amaya's voice rose unexpectedly. She stood wiping tears she hadn't realized were falling. You can't expect me to walk away. Not after telling me this much. The old woman's jaw clenched. I promised your mother I would protect you if you ever came searching. And part of protecting you is warning you that this truth is dangerous. Very dangerous. Danger doesn't matter, Amaya said firmly. Not anymore. Auntie Zawadi stared at her eyes, narrowing with a mixture of frustration and reluctant admiration. You are just like her, she whispered. Stubborn. Brave to the point of foolishness. Naledi always walked into storms. She had no business fighting. She was my mother, Amaya whispered, and she died without telling me who she really was. I can't let her story end in confusion and fear. A long silence stretched between them, fragile and heavy. Finally, Auntie Zawadi spoke again, voice softening. If you insist on searching, then go to her childhood home, the old Mirembe house on the eastern hill. Your mother hid something there. Something she feared would one day be needed. What is it? A diary, the old woman said. The only place she told the truth. A diary. The word felt like a key turning in a locked door. Where exactly is the house? Amaya asked. Follow the dirt road leading out of the cemetery. When you reach the crooked baobab tree, turn left. You will find it there abandoned, but still standing. Amaya nodded, determination hardening inside her like steel. Auntie Zawadi reached out and gently touched Amaya's hand. If you open the past, child, be prepared for it to open you too. Amaya met her gaze. I'm ready. But the old woman shook her head slowly. No one ever is. A gust of wind rustled the grass, and when Amaya blinked, Auntie Zawadi was already turning away, disappearing into the maze of gravestones like a fading memory. Amaya stared at the tombstone one last time, her mother's name carved into a lie. A grave that wasn't hers. A story her mother died protecting. A truth waiting somewhere on an abandoned hill. She wiped her tears, steadied her breath, and stepped away from the grave toward the dirt path, toward the house, toward answers she could no longer run from. The path leading away from the cemetery felt like a bridge between two worlds, one she thought she knew and one she was only beginning to glimpse. Amaya's footsteps crunched over gravel and dry earth as she followed Auntie Zawadi's directions. The air grew thicker with every step, as though the land itself remembered what she wasn't supposed to find. The crooked baobab tree rose ahead like a giant wounded guardian, its trunk split open by lightning long ago. Amaya paused beneath its sprawling branches, staring at the hollow within it. Something about the tree felt familiar. Her mother used to hum a song, when Amaya was little one, about a baobab that remembers every secret whispered beneath its roots. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe not. Amaya turned left, heart pounding, and there it was. The old Mirembe house. It stood hunched against the hillside, its wooden walls faded to a grayish brown, the windows clouded with dust. The roof sagged slightly in the middle, and vines crawled over the doorway like bony fingers. It looked abandoned, forgotten, yet heavy with memory. She approached slowly, her breath shallow. The closer she came, the more she felt a strange pull, like the house was waiting for her, like it somehow knew she would return one day. Her hand trembled as she pushed open the door. It creaked loudly, echoing through the empty interior. Dust swirled in the air, dancing through beams of light that pierced the wooden slats. The scent of old wood earth and something faintly floral, her mother's favorite scent, jasmine, lingered like a ghost. Mom, she whispered. The house was small, one main room, a tiny kitchen, and a bedroom at the back. Time had carved its signature into every surface. Cracked walls, scattered debris, a broken chair collapsed in a corner. But there was something else. A faint trail of footprints in the dust. They were fresh. Amaya's heartbeat stumbled. Someone had been here recently. She scanned the room, her senses sharp. A window on the left stood slightly ajar. Outside, the grass near it was pressed down as though someone had crouched there. She swallowed, forcing herself to stay calm. Whoever had come might still be nearby, or might return. Either way, she needed to find that diary. She moved toward the bedroom. The door hung crooked on its hinges. When she pushed it open, a rush of stale air met her, carrying a faint metallic scent, old nails, rust, and something else she couldn't place. The room was small, with a single bed frame and a collapsed shelf. Amaya scanned the walls, the floor, the corners. Where would her mother hide something so important? Her eyes settled on the wooden chest at the foot of the bed. It was covered in a thick layer of dust, the metal lock rusted but still intact. Unlike everything else in the house, the chest looked untouched, deliberately so. Amaya dropped to her knees and brushed off the dust. Her fingers traced the edges of the lock. This must be it, she breathed. But before she could act further, she heard a soft thump in the main room. Her blood froze. Someone else was inside. Amaya rose slowly, heart pounding in her throat. She grabbed a splintered piece of wood from the floor, anything to defend herself, and stepped carefully back toward the doorway. A shadow moved across the floorboards. "Who's there?" she demanded, though her voice trembled. For a moment there was silence. Then a tall figure stepped into view. A man in his early 30s, sharp-featured, broad-shouldered, with eyes so dark they seemed to swallow the light. His clothes were clean, too clean for someone wandering old ruins. His gaze locked onto hers with unsettling intensity. "Are you Amaya Mirembe?" he asked, voice low and unhurried. Her throat tightened. "Who are you?" The man stepped forward, raising his hand slightly to show he wasn't armed, or at least pretending not to be. "My name is Baraka Luwanga." Her mother's diary, Auntie Zawadi's words flashed through her mind. A wealthy family, betrayal, danger. The Luwanga name carried weight, and not the good kind. Amaya tightened her grip on the broken plank. "What do you want?" Baraka's gaze drifted toward the bedroom. "The same thing you're searching for." Her stomach twisted. "The diary." He didn't deny it. "I need it," he said. "But unlike you, I already know what's inside." "Then why are you here?" she asked sharply. "If you know everything, what do you want with my mother's belongings?" Baraka's jaw tensed. "Because my family's survival depends on it." Amaya took a step back. "Your family, yes," he said. "And yours too." The words hit her like a slap. She glared at him. "You expect me to trust you just because you say so." "I don't expect trust," he replied. "I expect you to understand that your mother wasn't the only one running from something." A gust of wind rattled the windows, and for a moment the house felt smaller, as if the walls were closing in. Amaya forced herself to breathe. "Tell me what you want with the diary." Baraka hesitated. Then he said, "My father believes that diary contains evidence that could destroy him. Evidence that your mother took with her when she fled, so you're here to cover for him." Baraka's expression darkened. "I'm here because my father is not the only one who wants it, and some of the others won't hesitate to kill for it." A cold chill spread through Amaya. "Why should I believe anything you're saying?" "Because he said your mother didn't just witness something she shouldn't have. She saved someone she shouldn't have. And that secret has haunted this village for decades." A heavy silence fell. Baraka took a step forward. "Give me the diary. I can make sure no one harms you." Amaya shook her head fiercely. "You don't care about my safety. You care about protecting your family." His jaw clenched. "And you? Do you even know what you're risking?" "Yes," she whispered. "My life. But my mother risked hers first. I won't let her story die." Baraka exhaled, frustrated. "You're as stubborn as she was." The words struck her unexpectedly deep. "She was protecting you," he continued. "She wanted to keep you far away from all this." "Then why did she leave clues behind?" Amaya shot back. "Why hide a diary if she didn't want the truth found?" Baraka fell silent, because he didn't know the answer, or didn't want to admit it. Amaya turned abruptly and rushed back into the bedroom. She knelt beside the chest and yanked hard on the lock. It resisted, groaning under her effort. Her fingers shook as she pulled again. Behind her, Baraka's voice echoed sharply. "Amaya, stop!" Too late. The lock snapped and the chest creaked open. Inside lay a leather-bound diary, old, fragile, edges frayed, pages yellowed and trembling like something alive. Her breath caught. She reached out, but Baraka grabbed her wrist. Don't he, warned his voice cracking just slightly. You don't know what you're about to uncover. Amaya stared at him, her eyes burning with determination. I'm not afraid. You should be, Baraka said quietly, because once you read her words, you can never turn back. Amaya pulled her wrist free. I'm already past the point of turning back. And with that, she lifted the diary from the chest. A storm exploded in Baraka's eyes, fear, anger, desperation, but he didn't stop her again. Perhaps he knew there was no stopping her. Amaya clutched the diary to her chest, breath trembling. Her mother's truth, her mother's voice, her mother's secrets. Finally within her hands, but outside the cracked window hidden behind the tall grass, a silhouette watched them both, unmoving, silent, waiting. The diary felt heavier than any book Amaya had ever held, so heavy it seemed to carry the weight of her mother's breath, her fears, her unspoken truths. Amaya stepped backward, keeping her eyes on Baraka, as she clutched the worn leather to her chest. The silence between them stretched tight, vibrating with tension, distrust, and unanswered questions. Baraka exhaled sharply and raked a hand through his hair. You don't understand what you're holding, he said, voice tight. That diary destroyed lives. Then it will answer mine, Amaya replied, her grip tightening protectively. Your mother didn't want you near any of this. Then she shouldn't have left clues, she shot back. She shouldn't have buried lies under graves and houses in fear. Baraka flinched. The truth had struck him too, though she didn't know why. Before he could respond, a creak sounded from outside the window, the faintest shift of grass, like a foot dragging across dry earth. Both of them froze. Baraka's eyes flicked toward the sound. Someone followed you. No, Amaya whispered, though dread crawled up her spine. No one knew I was coming here. Someone always knows, he said under his breath. Baraka moved quickly, stepping to the window and peering out through the cracks. His face hardened. We need to leave. Why? Who is out there? Amaya demanded. He didn't answer. He grabbed her wrist, not roughly, but firmly enough to startle her. Let go. Amaya, listen to me. If that diary leaves this house, things will escalate. You need to trust me. She yanked her hand free. I don't trust you. He looked genuinely frustrated. Then trust your mother. She ran because of this. She hid because of this. I'm trying to stop history from repeating itself. Amaya stepped back protectively, shielding the diary. I'm not giving it to you. For a moment, Baraka looked like a man caught between two burning buildings, uncertain which one to run from, or whether running would even help. Then his expression changed. Fear flickered in his eyes. Real fear. We're out of time, he whispered. A shadow moved outside the window. A silhouette rose tall, broad-shouldered, unmoving. Then two more shapes appeared behind it. 3 men, watching, waiting. Amaya's breath clamped in her throat. She looked at Baraka. Are they your father's men? No, Baraka said. Worse, he didn't explain. Instead, he grabbed her arm again, more urgently this time. We're leaving through the back. What? No, she tried to pull back. I haven't even read the diary. I can't leave. If you die with it in your hands, reading won't matter. His words struck harder than she expected. Baraka dragged her toward the back door, but Amaya suddenly stopped, her voice rising. Wait, the chest there might be more. I have to check, Amaya. There is no time. I said, wait. Her voice, usually soft and controlled, cracked like thunder. Baraka's eyes snapped toward her, startled by the fire in her tone. For a second, he hesitated. It was enough. Amaya darted back to the chest and thrust her hand inside, scattering old cloth, a cracked wooden comb, and a stack of faded letters tied with string. She grabbed the letters on instinct and stuffed them into her bag. Something brushed her fingertips, a small metal object wedged beneath the lining. She tugged it free. It was a necklace, her mother's necklace. A pendant shaped like a tiny teardrop of glass, etched with a symbol she had never seen before. It glimmered faintly as though it remembered being loved. Her throat tightened. Mom. Baraka reached her, his voice sharp. We have to go. A window shattered in the main room. The sound jolted them both. Heavy footsteps crunched across the wooden floor. Amaya's eyes widened. They were inside. Baraka cursed under his breath and positioned himself in front of her, shielding her from the doorway. 3 men entered the bedroom's shadowed threshold, dressed in plain clothes, but their presence radiated something unmistakable: danger, finely tuned into human form. The man in front stepped forward. He was older, his face etched with deep, cold lines. His gaze slid to the diary in Amaya's hands. Well, he murmured, it appears the girl found it before we did. Baraka stiffened. Kondo, you shouldn't be here. Kondo's cold eyes didn't blink, And you shouldn't be interfering, Baraka Luanga. This is not your battle. Baraka clenched his jaw. It is now. Amaya's heart pounded. Who are you people? Kondo smiled slowly. We are the ones who ensured your mother kept her mouth shut. Let's leave it at that. Amaya's breath froze. You. Her voice shook. You threatened her, Kondo shrugged. We gave her options. She chose the one that kept her child alive. Baraka moved slightly, blocking Kondo's path. Leave her out of this. She doesn't know anything. She hasn't read the diary. That's the problem, Kondo replied. She will. His eyes flicked to her bag, and she'll dig until she uncovers what should remain buried. Baraka lowered his stance. You're not touching her. Move, Kondo said. No. Kondo sighed, annoyed. I didn't want this to get messy. Baraka grabbed Amaya's hand. Run. They bolted as Kondo lunged forward. The men behind him surged toward them, but Baraka shoved a broken dresser into the doorway, buying them. Seconds, only seconds. They dashed down the hallway, out the back door, and into the thick brush behind the house. Branches whipped against Amaya's arms as she ran, clutching the diary so tightly, her knuckles turned white. Where are we going? She gasped. To the river, Baraka panted. They won't follow us across it. Why not? He didn't answer. They plunged deeper into the wild grass. The shouts behind them grew louder, closer. Amaya's lungs burned. My car! It's too far. We're not going to the road. Too exposed. Then where a gunshot rang out, Amaya screamed as the bullet tore through the grass beside her. Baraka pulled her down, pressing her into the dirt. Stay low, he hissed. Her heart thundered so violently she thought it might burst from her chest. We're going to die, she whispered. No, Baraka said firmly. I didn't come this far to let them kill you. More footsteps, more voices. Baraka grabbed her hand again. Move! They crawled through the tall grass until they reached a slope leading into a ravine. The sound of rushing water echoed faintly from below. There, Baraka whispered. They slid down the dirt slope. Amaya stumbled, nearly losing her grip on the diary, but Baraka steadied her. They reached the riverbank, wide, fast, deep. Amaya stared at the churning water. We can't cross that. We don't have a choice. We'll drown, not if we stay together. He waded in first, gripping her hand tightly. The cold water shoved against them, threatening to pull them under. Amaya clutched the diary to her chest. This is insane. Trust me, Baraka yelled over the roar. Another gunshot cracked behind them. Dirt exploded near their feet. Amaya gasped and plunged into the water beside him. The current seized her instantly. Baraka wrapped an arm around her waist and fought the river with powerful strokes, pulling her with him. They were swept downstream, tossed and tumbled like weightless leaves. Amaya choked on river water. The world spun in a blur of white foam and panic, but Baraka never let go. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the current mercifully spat them out near the river's bend. They crawled onto the muddy shore, coughing and trembling. Amaya collapsed on her back, clutching the diary as though it were her last tether to life. Baraka lay beside her chest, heaving. They'll search upstream. We're safe, for now. Amaya turned her head, meeting his exhausted eyes. What did my mother get caught up in? She whispered. Baraka stared at her, torn, conflicted, afraid. Finally, he said, she uncovered a truth my family would kill to hide. Amaya felt the weight of the diary press against her heart. And now Baraka added quietly, that truth belongs to you. Amaya closed her eyes, shivering. The nightmare had only just begun. The river's roar faded slowly behind them as the world settled into an eerie quiet. Amaya sat on the muddy bank, water dripping from her hair clothes, clinging cold and heavy to her skin. Her fingers were stiff from gripping the diary so tightly, but she didn't loosen her hold. She couldn't. It felt like letting go would mean losing her mother all over again. Baraka pushed himself to his feet with a groan. We need to move before they circle around. They'll check the roads, the riverbanks, everywhere. Amaya looked up at him, exhausted, shivering, yet sharper than she had been moments before. Who are they? And why are they hunting me? Baraka hesitated, jaw tense. They aren't Luanga guards. They're a separate group. People who've been protecting my family's darkest secrets for years. Secrets your mother uncovered. Amaya's heart throbbed painfully at the mention of her mother. Tell me what she found. Baraka shook his head, frustrated. I only know fragments. Your mother wrote down everything, every betrayal, every lie she discovered. That diary holds the full story. But if you open it now in the open, they'll track you faster. We need shelter first. Amaya pushed herself up, legs trembling. I don't want shelter, I want answers. You'll get them, Baraka said firmly. But only if you live long enough. The cold wind bit at her skin, forcing her to relent. She followed him into the thick underbrush along the riverbank, every step squelching through mud. They climbed a rocky incline, and for a moment Amaya lost her footing. Baraka reached back instinctively, grabbing her forearm. She stiffened at his touch. Careful, he said softly. I'm fine, she muttered, pulling her arm away and steadying herself. They moved in silence for several minutes, the forest canopy closing around them like a protective shroud. Amaya's mind swirled with questions. The tombstone, the house, Auntie Zawadi, the men with guns, and the diary her mother's voice trapped between fragile pages. What did my mother have to do with your family? She finally asked. Baraka didn't slow his pace. She worked in our household when she was young. House help, a witness to more than she should have seen. What did she see? He exhaled sharply. The Luwanga mansion wasn't just a home, it was a battlefield of inheritance. My father and my uncle were enemies long before I was born. When a fire broke out one night, a newborn disappeared, and your mother was blamed for it. Amaya stumbled to a stop. Blamed for a missing baby, her voice cracked. My mother never said anything about that. No, Baraka said, turning to face her, because she didn't want you to live with her shame. Shame. Anger flashed across Amaya's face. Why would she feel shame for something she didn't do? Because the whole village believed she did. And my father Baraka's expression tightened painfully. Let them blame her. Amaya stared at him, breath trembling. Your father let the village believe she took a baby. He encouraged it, Baraka said bitterly. As long as the world believed the child died because of her, he stayed clean. He protected his name, his wealth, his legacy. Amaya pressed a hand to her mouth. My mother was framed. Yes. And no one defended her. Baraka looked away. The silence between them felt like a blade. After a moment, Amaya whispered, What happened to the baby? Baraka didn't answer immediately. His eyes darkened with something she couldn't read. Before she could demand a response, the forest ahead opened into a clearing where an old stone bridge stood over a thin stream. Ivy crawled along the cracked pillars, and the air felt colder here, as though the land itself was holding its breath. This place is safe for now, Baraka said. No one comes here. Amaya leaned against one of the stone pillars, her breathing still uneven. Baraka, tell me what happened to that child. He closed his eyes briefly, as if gathering the strength to speak. When he opened them, they were filled with pain. That baby, he said slowly, was the center of a war. My father wanted to hide the truth. My uncle wanted to expose him. When the fire broke out, someone used the chaos to steal the newborn. Amaya's chest tightened. So the baby survived. Baraka hesitated, then nodded. Yes. Then where is the child now? That, he murmured, is the question the diary might answer. Amaya felt her heartbeat hammering in her ribs. You don't know. I know pieces, Baraka said. But the diary holds the full truth. Amaya stared at the diary, its leather damp, but intact. Her mother's handwriting lay just beneath the surface, waiting to speak. What do they want with it? She asked. Because it contains proof of everything, Baraka said. The affair, the betrayal, the swapped identities, and the fate of that child. Amaya's skin prickled. Why would your family keep protecting this secret for so long? Because Baraka whispered, if the truth comes out, everything my father built collapses. His reputation, his wealth, his political power, he would lose everything. And what about you? She asked quietly. Why are you helping me? Baraka's expression softened in a way she hadn't expected. Because I don't want to inherit a lie. The words lodged in Amaya's chest, strangely painful, strangely grounding. Before she could respond, the bushes near the bridge rustled violently. Baraka instantly stepped in front of her. Stay behind me, he whispered. Amaya clutched the diary. Her pulse surged with terror, but the figure that stepped out wasn't Kondo or any of his men. It was Auntie Zawadi. Her scarf was soaked with sweat. Her breath heaved and her cane shook under her hand. You two, she gasped. You must leave this village now. Kondo isn't alone. He contacted Mwamba. Baraka stiffened. My uncle, Auntie Zawadi, nodded. Yes, and he is coming. He knows the girl found the diary. Amaya's stomach twisted in fear. Why would your uncle care about this? Baraka swallowed. Because he believes that baby from the fire. My uncle believes the child didn't die. Auntie Zawadi's voice dropped to a whisper. And he thinks that child is alive. Walking among us. The world seemed to tilt. Amaya's chest constricted violently. Are you saying Auntie Zawadi raised a shaking hand? Child, your mother did what she had to do. She ran because she loved you. She hid because she wanted to keep you safe. And that diary, it contains the truth of who you are. But if Mwamba gets to you first, Baraka finished the sentence, he will silence you the way he tried to silence your mother. Amaya felt the blood drain from her face. What truth? Who am I? Auntie Zawadi stepped closer, placing her old trembling hand over Amaya's. Your mother wrote everything she said. Her fears, her choices the night of the fire, and the truth about the child she carried. Amaya felt her breath falter. Read it, Auntie Zawadi whispered. But not here. The forest has too many ears. Baraka touched Amaya's shoulder gently. There's an abandoned chapel near the western ridge. Thick walls, no windows. We can hide there until night. Amaya hesitated. She looked at the diary, at Baraka, at Auntie Zawadi. Then she nodded. Take me there, she said. I'm ready. But inside her chest, a trembling voice whispered, what if the truth inside that diary destroys everything I thought I knew about myself? She pushed the fear down, clutching the diary, as though it were the only thing keeping her upright. Together, the three of them slipped deeper into the forest, toward the chapel, toward the truth, and toward a revelation that would tear apart the past and reshape her entire life. The forest thickened as they made their way toward the western ridge branches, forming a tangled web overhead that filtered the afternoon light into thin, trembling beams. Amaya followed close behind Baraka, while Auntie Zawadi, though slow and breathless, moved with a fierce determination that belied her frail frame. Every step echoed with urgency. The diary pressed firmly to Amaya's chest, felt almost warm like her mother's memory pulsing through the leather. Baraka kept glancing over his shoulder, scanning the trees. We need to stay alert. Mwamba's men move fast. Faster than Kondo's. Auntie Zawadi scoffed softly. Men who hide behind guns move fast, yes. Men who hide behind truth do not. Amaya swallowed hard. Auntie Zawadi, you said Mwamba thinks the child from the fire is alive. Why? If the village believed the baby died, why is he still searching? The old woman didn't look at her. Because Mwamba Luwanga knows the truth. He always knew. Baraka stiffened. He claims he doesn't. Ha, Zawadi snapped. Your uncle has never said a true word in his life, boy. Baraka didn't argue. They continued through the trees until the forest suddenly opened, revealing a rocky rise and nestled between boulders, a crumbling chapel made of stone and age. Its roof sagged, the wooden door hung crooked, and vines curled over its walls like veins. A single iron cross leaned precariously from the roof's edge. Amaya felt a cold shiver. This place, it feels like it's holding its breath. It remembers, Zawadi whispered. This chapel. Once sheltered your mother too. Baraka's gaze sharpened. My father's men raided this place years ago. They suspected Naledi hid documents here. And she did, Zawadi said softly. But not the ones they feared. She hid her heart here, her fears, her tears. You will feel them when you open that diary. A knot tightened in Amaya's stomach. Baraka nudged the door open. The hinges groaned like a wounded animal. Inside dust swirled through the dim air. Broken pews lined the walls and shattered stained glass fragments glittered faintly along the floor. This should buy us some time, Baraka said, scanning the corners. The walls are thick. If we stay quiet, they may pass without noticing. Auntie Zawadi settled slowly onto a bench near the center. Her breathing was shallow, strained. Amaya immediately knelt beside her. Auntie, are you all right? Just old Zawadi wheezed with a faint smile. Old bones and older secrets. Baraka leaned against a wall arms, folded his gaze steady on Amaya and the diary. You should read it now. Before anyone else comes. Amaya hesitated. Her fingers trembled as she opened the cover. The scent of old paper and faint jasmine drifted upward, her mother's scent. Handwriting filled the first page, looping and familiar. My name is Naledi Marembe, and if my daughter ever finds this, I pray she is strong enough to face the truth I carried alone. Amaya's lips parted, her breath catching. She read aloud softly, her voice shaking. She wrote for me. Auntie Zawadi nodded. She always knew the truth would find you one day. Baraka stepped closer, though he kept his distance respectfully. Amaya turned the page. I was 14 when I was sent to work in the Luwanga mansion. Tabidi Luwanga, the kinder brother, was always gentle, but Mwamba carried darkness in his eyes. Even then, Amaya looked up at Baraka. His expression tightened, but he said nothing. She continued. When the fire broke out, everyone panicked. But I heard the cries of a baby, a newborn hidden in the storage room. I ran. I lifted her. I tried to protect her, but someone else was there, someone stronger. They took her from my arms. Amaya's heart dropped into her stomach. A baby girl. Yes, Auntie Zawadi whispered. A girl. Baraka's brow furrowed. But the family always said the missing child was a boy. Zawadi shook her head. The family lied about many things. Amaya turned the page again. I saw Mwamba that night. His shirt burned at the sleeves, his hands shaking. He whispered, "She can never be found." And then he saw me. Amaya froze. Baraka's face paled. She forced herself to keep reading. He blamed me, told the village I stole the baby. He needed someone to carry the sin so his name would not. And when the village turned on me, when they wanted to punish me, Thabiti stepped in. He saved me. But he couldn't save the truth. Amaya felt tears filling her eyes. She went through this alone. Auntie Zawadi placed a hand on hers. She survived because she had you to protect. Amaya frowned. But she didn't have me then. She wasn't pregnant yet. Zawadi and Baraka exchanged a glance. Amaya noticed. What she demanded. What aren't you saying? Baraka's voice was low controlled. Keep reading. Amaya turned the next page. I fled the mansion with help. I hid in this chapel. I thought I was safe, but Mwamba found me again. He warned me, one day you will carry a child, and if the truth of that night ever comes out, they will come for your baby too. Amaya gasped, a hand flying to her mouth. Her pulse throbbed painfully in her ears. And so I ran from the village, from the grave of the child they buried under my name, from the sins of men who feared their own shadows. I ran because I learned I was pregnant. And the moment I knew that, I swore no one would ever touch my child. Amaya's breath shattered. The diary slipped slightly in her grip. Auntie Zawadi's eyes glistened. That was when she told me. She said she would protect her child even if she had to erase herself from the world. Baraka spoke quietly. She didn't know who she could trust, so she trusted no one. Amaya wiped her tears harshly. But why didn't she tell me I lived my entire life thinking she died of sickness? That she was ordinary. She was extraordinary, Zawadi corrected. She carried a truth kings would kill to keep hidden. Amaya closed the diary for a moment, gathering herself. The silence in the chapel felt like a heartbeat. Then Baraka broke it. That missing baby, the one stolen during the fire. He looked at Auntie Zawadi. You said she was a girl, but the official story claimed a boy. It was a lie, Zawadi said. The girl was Mwamba's greatest shame. Then who buried the fake grave? Amaya asked. Zawadi pointed at the diary. Your mother explains it. The grave was created by villagers under Mwamba's orders. They wrote her name on it to signal that the matter was closed. That Naledi Mirembe was gone. Amaya trembled. Gone, but alive. Yes, Zawadi whispered. Baraka paced the small room. But why would Mwamba care now? Why hunt Amaya after all these years? Zawadi sighed heavily. Because Mwamba learned something recently. Something that awakened his old fears. Amaya looked between them, heart hammering. What did he learn? Zawadi hesitated. Then she said, he learned that the baby stolen in the fire did not die. Baraka stiffened as though struck. Then where is she? Zawadi turned to Amaya with trembling eyes. You still haven't seen the final pages, child. Amaya reopened the diary and flipped ahead with shaking hands. The last written lines hit her like a blow. If my daughter is reading this, then she must know the truth. The child stolen that night, the newborn girl, did not die. She lived, and she is closer to you than you think. Her heart stopped. Auntie Zawadi took her hand firmly. Amaya, she whispered, the baby. Your mother saved that night, the one they all thought died. Amaya's voice cracked. Zawadi's eyes softened with sorrow and pride. You. The chapel felt suddenly too small, too tight, too suffocating. Amaya choked. No, that can't. She said she was pregnant with me. Zawadi's voice trembled. Your mother lied in her diary about the timing for your protection. Naledi did not carry you from her own womb. She carried you from the fire. She risked everything to save you. Amaya shook her head rapidly. No, please, this can't. Baraka stepped forward, voice strained. Amaya, you are the lost Luwanga child. Her knees gave way and she collapsed onto the cold stone floor. Her entire world shattered in a single breath. The baby in the fire. The child they hunted. the identity buried under her mother's name. Amaya was not Naledi's daughter by blood. She was Mwamba Luanga's, a stolen child, a protected secret, a threat to a dynasty built on lies. Baraka's voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. Amaya! They're coming! A sharp crack echoed through the forest outside. Twigs snapping, leaves rustling, footsteps approaching. Auntie Zawadi's eyes widened. They found us. Baraka grabbed Amaya's arm and pulled her up. She was trembling, barely breathing, but he steadied her. Amaya, he whispered, listen to me. She looked at him with shattered eyes. You are the rightful heir to everything Mwamba stole, he said, and that is why he wants you dead. Before she could respond, a voice roared from outside the chapel. Bring me the girl. Mwamba had arrived. And the truth Amaya finally uncovered was now the very thing that could kill her. The bellowed command outside the chapel struck Amaya like a physical blow. Her breath caught her pulse, thundered violently against her ribs. She clutched the diary to her chest, as if it were the only thing keeping her upright. Auntie Zawadi squeezed her hand, her wrinkled fingers trembling. Baraka moved swiftly toward the door and peered through the cracks. His jaw tightened. There are at least 6 men, all armed. Auntie Zawadi let out a low, mournful sigh. Mwamba never comes alone. His shadow is always heavier than his footsteps. Amaya's mind spun. She was still struggling to breathe, to process the truth that had shattered her soul only minutes before. I am the baby from the fire. I am not Naledi's daughter. I am Mwamba's child, the one he once erased. The world blurred around her. Baraka turned to her, voice tense but gentle. We need to move. Now. They won't hesitate. Once they break inside this chapel, becomes a coffin. Amaya swallowed hard. I don't understand. Why? Why would he want me dead? I didn't choose any of this. Because you exist, Baraka said sharply. Because you are proof he lied, proof he hid a child, proof that everything he built was stolen. Auntie Zawadi dragged herself upright with her cane. Child, listen to me, she whispered, gripping Amaya's chin gently. Naledi saved you. She risked her life because she believed your destiny would one day break the chains of men who think themselves gods. I don't feel like destiny, Amaya whispered through tears. I feel like a mistake. You are no mistake, Zawadi said fiercely. You are the truth they buried. A crash echoed outside, heavy boots against stone. Baraka cursed under his breath. They're splitting into 2 groups. They'll surround the chapel. We need another way out, Amaya whispered. There is one, Zawadi said, pointing her cane toward the altar at the back. Beneath the altar stones. A tunnel built long ago for refugees. Naledi used it once. Baraka's eyes widened. You knew about this, Zawadi managed a weak smile. My bones are old, but my mind is not. Another crash. The door hinges groaned under force. Amaya panicked. We don't have time. Baraka sprinted toward the altar and shoved aside the rotting wooden table. Beneath it, ancient stone tiles lay uneven and cracked. He pushed on one, then another, nothing budged. Zawadi hobbled forward. No, boy. The loosened one is shaped like a crescent. Baraka scanned quickly and spotted the odd curve of one tile. He jammed his fingers under it and pulled. With a grating scrape, the stone lifted, revealing a dark, narrow hole beneath. A cold, earthy smell wafted upward. Amaya stared into the darkness, her stomach twisting. How far does it go? Far enough, Zawadi said. It leads to an old storage shed outside the ridge. Baraka looked at Amaya. You go first. What about Zawadi? Amaya cried. Oh, hush, the old woman muttered. I'm not dead yet. I'll fit. A loud slam shook the entire chapel. Baraka flinched. Move. Now. Amaya climbed into the hole, heart hammering. The tunnel was narrow, the stone walls cold and damp. Baraka helped Zawadi down next, then swung his legs over the edge. But before he could lower himself fully, the chapel door gave a deafening crack. Mwamba's voice boomed. Find the girl. Bring me the diary. Baraka froze for a split second. His eyes met Amaya's burning, solemn, desperate. Go, he whispered. I'll hold them off. No, Amaya cried, reaching for him. Baraka, don't Amaya move, he shouted, slamming the stone slab down, leaving only a narrow slit of light before it closed. Her scream was cut off as the slab sealed them into darkness. The tunnel swallowed them whole. The air was thick and suffocating. The darkness was absolute. Amaya's breath came in ragged gasps as she crawled forward, one hand gripping the diary, the other guiding herself along the rough stone wall. Behind her, Zawadi wheezed heavily. Keep going, child. The tunnel widens after a few meters. Above them, faint thuds and shouts echoed. Baraka's voice barked commands followed by a scuffle, then silence. Dead silence. Amaya stopped crawling frozen. Zawadi, did they? Zawadi touched her ankle gently. Do not think of it now. Baraka is strong. He may still be breathing. Keep moving. Amaya forced herself forward. Her knees scraped against stone. Her palms burned. Tears blurred her vision. Her heart ached so violently she thought it would tear in two. She couldn't stop thinking of Baraka's face, of the fear he tried to hide, of the pain in his eyes when he told her she deserved the truth. He stayed behind because of her, because of who she was. She blinked tears away and crawled faster, dragging the diary across the tunnel floor until the passage finally widened enough for them to sit upright. A faint sliver of light glowed ahead. There, Zawadi said breathlessly. The exit. Amaya scrambled toward it, pushing away hanging roots and crumbling dirt. She reached a wooden crate blocking the end, shoved it aside, and burst into the open air. She sucked in a trembling breath. The exit was hidden behind a thicket of bushes near a forgotten shed. The forest was quieter here, but danger still felt close. Auntie Zawadi climbed out behind her with difficulty. Amaya helped her up. Where do we go now? Amaya asked, voice shaking. To the hills, Zawadi said. To someone who can protect you. Who? But before Zawadi could answer, a sharp crack echoed from deep within the woods. A gunshot. Amaya flinched so violently, she nearly dropped the diary. No, she whispered. Baraka? Zawadi's voice quivered with grief. We cannot save him now. We must save you. Save me for what Amaya demanded, tears spilling freely. I don't want this. I never asked to be part of this. This nightmare. Zawadi cupped her face, forcing her to meet her gaze. You must stay alive because you are the rightful heir. Because the truth did not survive the fire, so you could die in the shadows. Amaya sobbed softly. And because Zawadi whispered, voice breaking, your mother gave up everything, her name, her home, her life to save you. Amaya looked down at the diary in her hands. Her mother's words, her mother's truth, her mother's love. The sound of rustling leaves suddenly cut through the clearing. Zawadi stiffened and pulled Amaya behind her. A figure emerged from the trees. Not Mwamba, not Kondo, Baraka. Bleeding, limping, barely standing. Amaya gasped and rushed to him. Baraka. He collapsed against a tree, wincing. Blood seeped from a gash along his arm and shoulder. You're alive, she whispered, tears streaming. He gave a weak, pained smile. Told you, I'm hard to kill. Zawadi hurried to his side. Boy, you're lucky the spirits aren't ready for you yet. Amaya touched his face, trembling. Why did you do it? Why stay behind? Baraka's gaze locked onto hers, intense, sincere, aching. Because he whispered, I needed you to live long enough to discover who you are. Amaya swallowed hard. And who am I? Baraka exhaled shakily. You're the one person Mwamba fears most. Zawadi nodded solemnly. The child he tried to erase. Amaya clutched the diary tighter. Baraka's eyes darkened. And if we don't move now, he'll find you again. Amaya nodded, fire rising beneath her fear. Then let's go, she said. I'm done running from the truth. Zawadi pointed her cane toward the hills, to the old healer, Jabali. He knows more than any of us, perhaps enough to bring Mwamba to his knees. Together, battered but unbroken, they disappeared into the forest. But behind them, deep in the shadows, Mwamba's voice drifted through the trees. Find the girl. She cannot live. And the chase for the truth, Amaya's truth, was far from over. The climb toward the hills began as a slow, grueling struggle. Baraka leaned heavily on Amaya's shoulder, his breath sharp with pain, while Auntie Zawadi limped behind them with her cane tapping stubbornly against the earth. The late afternoon sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the forest floor. Every rustle of leaves made Amaya's heart jump. Danger clung to the air like mist. Baraka winced as they reached a narrow ridge. I'm slowing you down, he muttered. Amaya tightened her grip around him. You saved my life. I'm not leaving you behind. He gave a weak chuckle. Stubborn, just like your mother. Amaya's heart twisted. She wasn't my real mother, she whispered. Baraka stopped walking. He turned to her, gripping her arm gently but firmly. She was more of a mother to you than Mwamba ever was a father. Blood doesn't decide that. Auntie Zawadi nodded. Naledi raised you with love. That makes her your mother by every measure that matters. Amaya swallowed hard, blinking away tears. The truth was raw, new, jagged, and yet somehow those words softened a piece of it. They resumed their climb. The air grew cooler as they ascended. The forest thinned, giving way to grass and scattered boulders. In the distance, a small, weathered hut stood against the skyline, its roof patched with scraps of tin and old cloth. Smoke curled faintly from a crooked chimney. "That is Jabali's home," Zawadi said. "He sees what others blind themselves to." Amaya raised an eyebrow. "A healer. He was once the village's most respected truth-seer," Zawadi explained, "until Mwamba silenced him too." Baraka grunted. "Mwamba silences everyone." Zawadi's lips curved into a sad smile. "Not everyone," Naledi escaped him. "And now her child stands against him." But the words sent another twist through Amaya's chest. Her child. Was she really Naledi's? Her heart screamed yes. Her blood whispered no. She pushed the thought away. They reached the hut, and Zawadi knocked on the door 3 taps, then a pause, then 2 more. A rhythm that felt rehearsed, secretive. A moment passed. Then the door creaked open. A tall, gaunt man stood there, his gray beard hanging down to his chest like old vines. His eyes were milky with age, yet sharp, far sharper than any ordinary blind gaze. He wore a faded robe, and his hands trembled slightly as he leaned on a carved walking staff. "Zawadi," he rasped. "The wind told me you were coming," Amaya shivered. Baraka frowned. Zawadi bowed her head respectfully. "Jabali, we need your shelter. And your wisdom." The old man stepped aside. "Enter, quickly. The shadows follow you." They went inside. The hut smelled of herbs, bitter, floral, burnt. Shelves lined the walls, filled with jars of dried leaves, bones, powders, stones carved with symbols. The air had a weight to it as though every object inside held a story and a warning. Jabali motioned for Baraka to sit. "You are wounded." Baraka lowered himself onto a woven mat. "Just a graze." Jabali scoffed. "A graze that bleeds like a river." He reached for a bowl of herbs and began grinding them with practiced hands. Amaya turned to him. "We need answers. We found the diary." "Naledi, my mother, she..." Her voice cracked. Jabali lifted his gaze to her, his eyes swirling with a knowing she didn't understand. "Ah, so the girl of the fire finally learns she lived." Amaya stiffened. "You knew." "I knew the moment I saw you," Jabali said softly. "Your spirit carries the mark of the flames. And Naledi's love." Amaya hugged the diary closer. "Why did Mwamba take me? Why did he hide me?" "He did not take you," Jabali said. "He lost you." Amaya blinked. "What do you mean?" Zawadi intervened. "Tell her, Jabali. She deserves to know." Jabali inhaled deeply. When the fire broke out that night, Mwamba feared exposure. He intended to hide the newborn you so his sins would never be discovered. But someone interfered. Amaya's pulse quickened. "Who?" Jabali pointed to the diary. "Naledi. She witnessed everything. She saved you before Mwamba could carry out his plan." Baraka leaned forward despite his pain. "But the official story was that the baby died." "A lie," Jabali replied. "A lie Mwamba wrapped the village in." Amaya's voice trembled. "But the grave, the name, the tombstone with my mother's name?" "A false grave," Jabali said. "A distraction. Mwamba wanted the world to believe both you and Naledi were gone. But Naledi outsmarted him." A bitter knot formed in Amaya's throat. "All this time, I lived not knowing who I truly was." Jabali studied her carefully, then nodded toward the diary. "You seek identity. But identity is not found in bloodlines. It is found in truth. And the truth begins with what you choose to do now." Amaya slowly opened the diary again. The pages trembled beneath her fingers. "Naledi wrote about a forbidden affair," she said softly, "between Mwamba and a woman from outside the village. She wrote about secrets, betrayals, fear." Jabali nodded. "Mwamba's affair led to your birth. But your existence threatened his power. A child born of love he was ashamed to admit. A child who could claim what he hoarded." Baraka winced. His wealth, his political ties, his legacy, and his guilt, Jabali added. The old man turned to Amaya. "You carry the blood he tried to erase. That is why he hunts you." Amaya's breath shuddered. "So, I am nothing but a threat, a mistake he wants corrected." Zawadi struck the ground with her cane. "No, you are the truth he fears. The truth Naledi died to protect." Baraka nodded, jaw tight. "You are the rightful heir to everything he stole." Amaya sank onto a stool, covering her face with her hands. Her entire being felt split open. A child stolen, a life hidden, a mother who wasn't her mother, a father who wanted her dead. Baraka spoke gently. "Amaya, I know this is overwhelming. But we will fight with you. We, she echoed, looking up. Baraka's gaze held hers. You are not alone. For a moment, warmth flickered through her chest, but fear suffocated it. What am I supposed to do, she whispered. Expose Mwamba, confront him, he has power. Men, money, I have nothing. Jabali placed a hand on her shoulder. You have the diary, and that is enough to break empires. But he'll kill me before I use it, only if he finds you first. A rustle outside the hut made them all freeze. Baraka tensed. Zawadi's cane lifted defensively. Jabali's nostrils flared. Voices drifted through the trees. Mwamba's men. They were closing in. Jabali's voice dropped to a hush. There is another path. Beneath this hut lies an old rootway tunnels that weave under the hills. You can escape through them. Amaya's grip tightened around the diary. Escape, we're back to the village, Jabali said. To the Luwanga mansion. The truth is waiting where the lies were born. Baraka shook his head. That's suicide. Mwamba's strongest men guard the estate. Zawadi looked at Amaya, her voice trembling with conviction. But the estate also holds the final document. The missing birth record. The one that proves your identity beyond any denial. Amaya's heart skipped. My birth record, yes, Zawadi whispered. Naledi tried to retrieve it once, but she failed. You must take what she could not. The hut creaked as footsteps approached. Baraka staggered to his feet, blood still seeping. We have to go. Now. Jabali lifted a trapdoor hidden beneath an animal hide. A cold draft rose from the darkness below. Amaya hesitated, shaking, terrified, uncertain. Zawadi placed both hands on her cheeks. You have Naledi's courage, she whispered, and Mwamba's fire. Use both. Survive. The door rattled violently, men attempting to break in. Baraka extended a hand to Amaya. Come with me, he said, voice rough but unwavering. Amaya looked at the diary in her hands, at the truth it carried, at the destiny she never asked for but could no longer escape. She grabbed Baraka's hand. Together, they descended into the darkness. As Jabali slammed the trapdoor shut, Mwamba's voice thundered outside. Find her! The girl must not live! And the hunt for the final truth had begun. The tunnel beneath Jabali's hut was cold enough to sting Amaya's skin. Its walls were carved from packed earth and roots, some thick as ropes twisting overhead like the veins of an ancient beast. The air smelled damp and metallic, and every step echoed faintly into the darkness ahead. Baraka limped beside her, his breath uneven from pain, but his grip on her hand remained steady. Auntie Zawadi followed closely, her cane tapping rhythmically against the tunnel floor. A distant thud reverberated through the soil above them, Mwamba's men forcing their way into the hut. There inside, Baraka muttered through clenched teeth. Zawadi shook her head. Let them search. Jabali knows how to hide a doorway. Amaya tried to calm her racing pulse. She pressed the diary to her chest as though Naledi herself were walking with her. The truth inside those pages still throbbed in her mind. She wasn't Naledi's child by blood. She was the girl saved from the fire, the child Mwamba wanted gone. A secret powerful enough to destroy a dynasty. But at that moment, one truth felt stronger than all the others. She would not let her mother's sacrifice end in vain. They continued deeper into the tunnel until the light from Jabali's hut disappeared completely behind them. How much farther? Amaya whispered. Not long, Zawadi replied. The rootway splits into two paths. One leads toward the river caves. The other leads toward the old Luwanga estate. Baraka wiped sweat from his brow. We're taking the path to the estate, yes, Zawadi said. It is the only place left where the last piece of your past remains hidden. Amaya felt her chest tighten. My birth record. The proof. Baraka nodded. If you get that document, even Mwamba cannot deny who you are. Amaya swallowed hard. And if we don't, Zawadi met her eyes, her expression grave. Then Mwamba's lies will stand, and you will always be hunted. A chill crawled down Amaya's spine. Before she could respond, a faint noise rippled through the tunnel behind them, shuffling, echoing human. Baraka stiffened instantly. Someone's in the tunnels. Amaya spun around, her heart jumping painfully. Who? How? Baraka's jaw hardened. Kondo must have found the lower entrance. Zawadi cursed under her breath. Move! Quickly, they pushed onward, the tunnel narrowing until they had to duck their heads. The faint sound behind them grew louder, closer, unmistakable boots, scraping dirt, voices murmuring. Baraka hissed in frustration. We need to block the path, how Amaya asked desperately. He pulled away from her, ignoring the pain in his leg, and began tearing thick roots from the tunnel walls. The ground trembled with each yank. Zawadi's eyes widened. "Careful, boy. Bring down the wrong roots and you bury us all." Baraka kept pulling. Better buried than caught. Amaya grabbed his arm. "Stop, we'll get trapped too." He froze, not because of her words, but because a familiar voice echoed from the darkness behind them. Amaya. Her blood froze solid. Mwamba's voice. Baraka shoved her forward. "Run! But you go!" he roared. Zawadi pushed her sharply. "Child, move!" Amaya stumbled forward, clutching the diary, her feet pounding against the earth as she sprinted down the twisting tunnel. Baraka and Zawadi followed their breaths, ragged. Behind them, Mwamba's voice boomed again, fury dripping from every syllable. "You cannot run from your blood, girl," Amaya's heart thrashed in her chest. "You're not my blood," she wanted to scream. "Naledi was my mother, not you," but there was no time for shouting. The tunnel inclined sharply upward and faint light seeped through cracks ahead. Zawadi whispered urgently. There, the tunnel forked into two paths. One veered right into shadows, the other left toward a sliver of daylight. "Left," Zawadi commanded. They took the left, squeezing into a steep stone passage. Jagged rocks scraped their skin, but they pushed forward, half crawling, half running. Baraka grunted with every movement, blood from his earlier wounds staining the tunnel wall. Amaya felt panic clawing at her throat. "Baraka, hold on." He gave a humorless laugh. "I don't plan on dying in a dirt hole." But his voice was weakening. Finally, the passage widened, and they emerged into a shallow cavern where daylight filtered through a broken grate overhead. "We're close," Zawadi whispered. "That grate leads into the western courtyard of the Luanga estate." Amaya stared up at the grate, a rusted iron grid bent out of shape wedged into an old stone ceiling. Ivy hung from the edges, sunlight dripping through like gold threads. Baraka reached for the grate, but pain shot down his arm, and he faltered. Amaya stepped forward. "I'll do it." She grabbed the grate and pushed with all her strength. It resisted at first, the metal groaning, but she pressed harder, teeth gritted, every muscle trembling. Then finally it snapped free with a metallic crack. Fresh air poured down into the cavern. Zawadi and Baraka helped lift her up. She reached the surface, rolling onto soft grass. The sun felt blinding after the darkness below. Moments later, Baraka and Zawadi climbed out behind her. They crouched low, taking in their surroundings. The western courtyard was overgrown with weeds, the stone pathways cracked. The back of the Luanga mansion loomed ahead, large and imposing, its windows dark, except for a faint flicker of movement inside. Baraka's voice was a strained whisper. "I know this place. That window leads to my uncle's private study." Zawadi nodded. "That is where the birth records will be." Amaya stared at the mansion, fear and determination warring within her. "My birth? The proof? It's in there." "Yes," Zawadi said. "Your mother tried to retrieve it once." But Mwamba stopped her. "You must succeed where she could not." Amaya took a deep breath, gripping the diary. She could feel Naledi in her heart, her warmth, her fear, her fierce love. "Then I'm going." Baraka caught her wrist. "Not alone." She looked at his bleeding shoulder. "You need rest. I need purpose more." Their eyes locked for a moment, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Then Zawadi grabbed their arms and dragged them down behind a stone wall as footsteps approached. Mwamba's men. They scoured the courtyard, weapons drawn. Baraka whispered, "They should know about this exit." "How did they?" "Mwamba built this estate," Zawadi whispered back. "There is no corner he does not know." A man stopped just meters away. Amaya held her breath, praying he wouldn't see them. He leaned close to a bush, scanning the area. His hand trailed dangerously near their hiding spot. Then another voice called from afar. "This side is clear." He turned and walked away. Amaya exhaled shakily. Zawadi tapped her shoulder. "Move. We must slip into the mansion before they return." They waited until the courtyard cleared, then dashed across the grass. The mansion's stone walls loomed over them like the ribs of a giant beast. Baraka led them to a side door hidden by vines. He pressed his hand against a loose brick. The door clicked open. Zawadi blinked. "How?" "It's my family's house," Baraka murmured. "Some secrets are mine to use." They slipped inside. The air in the mansion was cold and still. The hallways were lined with portraits of Luanga ancestors, their stern faces seeming to watch each step. Amaya shivered. Baraka pointed to a staircase. "Up there. Mwamba's study is on the second floor, last room on the right." They climbed quietly, each creak of the wooden steps sounding like a thunderclap in Amaya's ears. When they reached the second floor, Baraka paused listening. Someone's inside the study. Amaya's blood chilled. Who? He strained his ears. Sounds like paper. A drawer. Someone is searching. Zawadi tightened her grip on her cane. Then we must be faster. Baraka reached for the doorknob. It turned. The door cracked open. And as the gap widened, Amaya's breath caught in her throat. Because the person standing inside the study wasn't Mwamba. It was someone Amaya had never seen before but whose face mirrored hers. Eyes, jawline, cheekbones. A young woman. And she was holding a birth certificate. Baraka whispered in shock, Who? Who are you? The woman turned slowly, her expression unreadable. Then she said, I'm the other child from the fire. Amaya's world shattered all over again. For a heartbeat, the world froze. No sound, no breath, no movement. Only the quiet, bone-deep shock of seeing a face that was almost Amaya's. The woman standing in Mwamba's study lowered the fragile birth certificate slowly, her eyes never leaving Amaya's. Her skin was a shade lighter, her hair pulled into a tight braid, her expression steady in a way that felt unnervingly familiar. A reflection, a shadow, or something more haunting. Amaya felt her knees weaken. You. What did you say? The woman stepped closer, holding the certificate delicately. I said I'm the other child from the fire. Baraka stiffened. That's impossible. There was only one child. No, the woman interrupted calmly. There were two. Auntie Zawadi gasped, her cane trembling. Two. That night, two infants. The woman nodded. Twins. The word ripped through Amaya like lightning. No, she whispered. No, that can't be. Naledi saved me. Jabali said yes, the woman said gently. Naledi saved one of us, and someone else saved me. Amaya felt the room tilt. Twins. Two babies in a burning storage room. Two lives twisted by lies. Zawadi stumbled backward, but Naledi never mentioned. She didn't know, the woman said. She thought there was only one. Or maybe she was made to believe that. Baraka clenched his jaw. Who are you really? The woman unfolded the certificate and handed it to Amaya. Her hands shook as she took it. The faded letters spelled out, name, Amina Luwanga, date of birth. Same as Amaya's parents, Mwamba Luwanga, and Amali Tandi Mwamba's mistress Amaya. Looked up, her voice barely a whisper. Amina. The woman Amina nodded. Yes. And you are my sister. The air cracked under the weight of the revelation. Sister. Amaya repeated the word, trembling in her mouth. Amina's eyes softened. I've known about you for years, but I didn't know how to find you. Mwamba kept everything hidden, even from the men he trusted. But last week I discovered these documents in a forgotten vault in the East Wing. And when the village whispered that a young woman was searching for Naledi Mirembe's past, I knew it had to be you. Baraka stared between them in stunned silence. Even he seemed shaken beyond speech. Zawadi steadied herself against the desk. But if there were twins, why did Mwamba claim only one child existed? Why say the baby died? Amina's jaw tightened. Because one child was convenient to hide, but two children meant twice the risk. So he separated us, hid me inside the estate, hid Amaya beneath a false grave. She looked at Amaya. He kept me close so he could control me. He let you disappear so the world wouldn't know he created children he was ashamed to claim. The truth hit like a burning brand. Amaya forced air into her lungs. Why are you here now? Amina motioned to the half-open drawers and scattered papers to find the final piece. Our mother's identification records. If I can prove Amali existed and that Mwamba fathered children with her, they can't hide what he did anymore. Baraka frowned. But why help expose your own father? Amina's expression hardened. Because he's the reason our mother died. Silence dropped like a stone. Amaya's heart thudded painfully. He killed her, no, Amina said quietly. Not directly, but when she tried to leave him, when she tried to take us with her, he locked her away. She died in childbirth because she couldn't get help. And he blamed everyone but himself. A slow, cold rage uncoiled in Baraka's face, rage that didn't belong to Amaya or Zawadi. Baraka spoke through clenched teeth. I knew he was cruel. But this, Amina nodded grimly. Your family isn't as noble as you want to believe, Baraka. He didn't argue. Amaya felt like the walls were closing in on her. Everything she thought she knew, every scrap of identity she clung to, crumbled again. A mother who wasn't her mother. A father she wished she never had. A twin sister hidden like a secret sin. Her voice shook. Why didn't you come for me sooner? Amina sighed. Because I didn't have proof until now, and because I needed to survive long enough to escape him. A distant crash echoed from the hallway. Baraka whipped around. Someone's coming. Amina's expression sharpened. It's him. I locked the east door, but that won't hold him long. Zawadi raised her cane. We must leave. Now. Amina nodded. There's a back staircase. I mapped every corner of this mansion. She crossed the room quickly, pulling open a hidden door behind a bookshelf. A narrow stone stairway spiraled downward. Baraka supported Zawadi as they followed Amina. Amaya hesitated before stepping inside, glancing back at the desk where the documents lay. Amina paused. Take them. You'll need them. Amaya gathered the papers, her sister's birth certificate, fragments of medical records, an old photograph of a woman with gentle eyes and a bright smile. Their mother, Amale, her throat tightened. I never even got to meet her, Amaya whispered. Amina's voice softened. But she met you. She held you. She named you. That part of us, even Mwamba couldn't erase. Amaya clutched the photograph to her chest and followed them into the stairwell. As the door shut behind them, muffling the approaching footsteps, Zawadi's voice echoed faintly. Child, you have more strength than your mother ever knew. The stairwell was dark and narrow, spiraling around cold stone walls. Amina moved swiftly, though her steps remained cautious. Baraka glanced at her. You move like you've been planning this for years. Amina didn't look back. I have. The admission sent a chill through them all. At the bottom of the stairwell, they emerged into a dim corridor lined with old portraits. Amina pressed her fingers against a loose panel in the wall. It slid open to reveal another hidden passage, smaller, dustier. Amaya stared. How many secret roots does this house have? Too many, Amina replied. The Luangas have been hiding skeletons for generations. They squeezed inside. The passage curved and twisted before rising toward another grate. Amina pushed it open, revealing an overgrown garden shed outside the estate walls. They slipped out one by one, crouching low. But as they crossed the clearing toward the tree line, a voice thundered behind them. Stop! Amaya's stomach dropped. Mwamba stood at the mansion entrance, rage blazing in his eyes, flanked by armed men. Amina grabbed Amaya's hand. Run! They sprinted into the trees. Gunshots cracked through the air. Bark exploded from the trunk beside Amaya's head. Zawadi stumbled, but Baraka caught her. They ducked behind a fallen log as bullets ripped through leaves above them. Mwamba's voice sliced through the forest. Bring me the girls, Aliv. Shoot the others. Amina's eyes blazed with fury. He wants to finish what he started. Baraka gritted his teeth. Then we give him a fight he'll never forget. Amaya clutched the diary and the documents, everything that proved who she was and who she could become. She looked toward the dense forest ahead. The path to the truth was no longer a search. It was a war. Let's go, she whispered. We're not dying today. And together, blood, fear, truth, and destiny bound as one, they disappeared deeper into the forest shadows, while Mwamba's men tore through the trees behind them. The real chase had only just begun. The forest swallowed them, branches whipping against their skin as they ran. Amaya's lungs burned. Amina's grip on her hand never faltered, and behind them, Baraka half-dragged Auntie Zawadi while trying to stay upright himself. Gunshots cracked through the trees, echoing like thunder. Each one carved fear deeper into the air. Left Amina hissed, tugging Amaya sharply. They darted behind a cluster of massive acacia roots, pressing themselves flat against the earth. Leaves shook violently as Mwamba's men scattered across the clearing searching. Their flashlights sliced the forest in thin beams. Amaya forced herself to breathe, silently clutching the diary and the documents against her chest. She could hear her own heart as loudly as the men's heavy footsteps. Amina leaned close, whispering, We can't outrun them forever. We need a plan. Baraka wiped sweat from his brow, wincing at the pain. If we keep running blind, we'll run straight into their trap. Zawadi's voice came out in harsh gasps. The hill caves, they're close. Jabali's tunnels connect to them. If we reach the caves, we can lose these devils. Amina nodded. She's right. Once we reach the stone passage, their guns will be useless. But Amaya shook her head. We're still too exposed. They're surrounding the forest from all sides. Baraka took a slow breath. Not if we divide them. One group goes loud. The others break away. Amina turned sharply. No. We stay together. We won't make it together, Baraka whispered. His eyes flicked to Amaya, holding her gaze for a moment too long. She understood the look instantly. A stabbing fear clawed through her chest. No, she said. Don't you dare. I'm not letting anyone stay behind again. Baraka gave a strained smile. You won't let me do anything. I do what I must. Baraka, she began. He cut her off gently. If they catch you, Amaya, the truth dies. Everything your mother did, everything you've risked, it all ends. You and Amina must go on. Amina touched Amaya's arm. He's right. We are the ones Mwamba wants. We're the leverage. We're the threat. A gunshot rang out closer this time. Too close. Dirt sprayed beside their hiding spot. Move, Amina hissed. They darted through the trees again, but Baraka slowed behind them. Amaya looked back and saw him break away, deliberately snapping dry branches underfoot, crashing loudly through the brush. Over here, he shouted, his voice bold, taunting, drawing attention to himself. Amaya's heart shattered. Baraka Amina grabbed her arm. No, don't stop. We can't leave him, Amaya cried, trying to pull free. Zawadi's hand clamped down on her shoulder, surprisingly strong. Child, listen. That boy is choosing his path. You must choose yours. Amaya blinked rapidly, breath trembling. She remembered Baraka's words back in the chapel. I didn't come this far to let them kill you. Amina's voice softened, but urgency pressed through each syllable. If you go back, he dies for nothing. Tears burned Amaya's eyes, but she let Amina tug her forward. Behind them, Baraka's voice echoed through the forest, roaring with defiance. You want someone, come and take me. Gunshots followed instantly. Amaya nearly collapsed. Her legs lost strength and she stumbled, but Amina caught her, pulling her upright. Keep moving, Amina whispered, her own voice cracking. We'll come back for him, but only if we survive. Amaya swallowed her sobs and ran. They burst through a curtain of vines and stumbled onto the rocky slope at the base of the hills. Moonlight spilled across the jagged stones, revealing a narrow cave opening concealed by dense brush. This way, Zawadi whispered. Amina knelt and shoved the bushes aside, revealing a dark crevice in the stone. One by one, they squeezed inside. The air in the cave was damp and cold, filled with the distant sound of dripping water. Amaya leaned against the wall, trembling violently. The diary slipped from her fingers. Amina picked it up gently and placed it back in her hands. Hold on to it. It's your mother's voice. Amaya closed her eyes, breathing through the ache, tearing her apart. I can't lose Baraka, not after everything. Zawadi stroked her back. He's stronger than he looks. Trust him. Amina listened carefully at the cave entrance. They're close. We need to go deeper. The cave wound downward into a narrow tunnel littered with stones. The deeper they went, the colder it became. After several minutes, they reached a wide chamber, lit only by faint slivers of moonlight leaking through cracks in the cave roof. Shadows danced across the walls. Amina stopped abruptly. Amaya froze beside her. What is it? Amina pointed toward the center of the chamber. A stone pedestal stood there. On top of it lay a sealed wooden box, ancient, carved with the Luwanga family crest. Zawadi gasped. I remember that box. Mwamba's father once kept it in the mansion. Then it vanished. Amaya stepped forward slowly, her heartbeat thundering. What's inside? Amina's eyes narrowed. Something Mwamba feared enough to hide here. She brushed dust off the lid. Help me open it. Together, Amina and Amaya lifted the heavy wooden cover. Inside lay a stack of decayed documents tied with a brittle leather cord and a metal locket shaped like a teardrop, identical to the pendant Amaya had found in her mother's chest. Her breath hitched. This was my mother's symbol. Zawadi nodded. It belonged to Amali too. The sisters each carried one. Amaya's fingers hovered above the locket. Sisters, yes, Zawadi whispered. Your mother Naledi and your birth mother Amali were cousins raised as sisters. Their bond was stronger than blood. Amina's eyes widened. That means Naledi didn't just save a stranger's child. She saved her own family. Amaya touched the locket with reverence, and a fierce surge of love for both women pulsed through her. Amina opened the documents carefully. Her eyes widened. Oh no. Amaya looked at her, panic flaring. What is it? Amina held up the first paper. A legal document bearing Mwamba's signature. A transfer of inheritance. Naming the rightful successor to the Luwanga fortune. Not Baraka, not Mwamba's legal heir, but Amina and Amaya Luwanga Johairs, twins, destined to inherit everything Mwamba built. Zawadi crossed herself. So that is why he wanted you both dead. Amina's voice shook with fury. He knew Amali filed this before she died. He knew we were meant to expose everything. Amaya touched the edge of the paper, her hand trembling. This proves we are the rightful heirs, and that Mwamba is the thief, Amina whispered. A sudden clatter of rocks echoed through the tunnel. Footsteps, boots. A familiar cold voice. Mwamba. Amaya froze. Zawadi's hand clamped over her mouth as she whispered, "Hide the documents." Amina stuffed the inheritance papers and birth records into her coat. Amaya tucked the diary beneath her shirt. A dark silhouette entered the chamber. Mwamba stepped into the moonlight, his face twisted with fury, sweat glistening on his brow. "I warned the world," he snarled. "I said the fire took one child, and I let them believe the other died with her mother." His eyes moved to Amaya, then Amina. "But now the flames return," he hissed. A gun clicked behind him. Amina grabbed Amaya's hand tightly. Mwamba raised his arm. "That inheritance you hold does not belong to you," he growled. It never did. He aimed the gun at Amaya and pulled the trigger. Everything exploded into darkness. The gunshot tore through the cavern like a crack of thunder. Amaya felt the force of the blast before she registered the sound. Baraka's body slammed into hers from the side, sending her sprawling behind a cluster of jagged stones. The impact knocked the breath clean from her lungs. A scream tore through the chamber. Baraka Amina's voice shocked, broken, furious. Amaya scrambled up, but her limbs were shaking uncontrollably. Her vision spun. Baraka lay slumped nearby, his body half covering hers, as if he'd thrown himself in front of the bullet meant for her. "No, no, no, no," Baraka Amaya's voice cracked into pieces. But before she could reach for him, Amina yanked her backward, pushing her behind the largest boulder in the cavern. "Stay down," Amina hissed. More gunfire exploded. Stones shattered above their heads. Mwamba's laughter echoed cold and delighted. "You think hiding will save you? I have hunted your shadows for 23 years. You cannot escape me now." Amina clenched her jaw, her face twisted in fury. He shot Baraka. Amaya couldn't breathe. Her ears rang. She tried to reach for her friend again, but Amina held her pinned. "Focus," her twin whispered urgently. "If we die here, everything dies with us." Through the haze in her vision, Amaya saw Baraka's fingers twitch weakly. His chest rose and fell, shallow, uneven, but alive. A whimper escaped her throat. Relief and terror tangled inside her. Mwamba stepped deeper into the cavern, silhouetted against the faint moonlight seeping from above. His gun gleamed in his hand. His breaths came hard with rage and effort. "You two were supposed to be ashes." He spat the words like venom. "Your mother disobeyed me. Naledi defied me. And now their lies end tonight." Zawadi rose shakily from the shadows standing between Mwamba and the boulder that concealed the twins. Her back was straight. Her voice was steady. "Enough!" Mwamba stopped. "Well," he sneered, "the old snake slithers out of her hole." Zawadi lifted her chin. "You will not touch them." "You forget yourself, woman," Mwamba snarled. "I built this legacy. I am the Luwanga name," "No," Zawadi said quietly. "Amali carried your legacy. Naledi protected it. And these girls," she gestured toward the stone, "they are the rightful heirs. You are only the coward who feared them." Mwamba's face twisted. "They are nothing." He lifted the gun. Amina moved before Amaya realized what she was doing. She darted out from cover, screaming, "Stop!" Mwamba swung the gun toward her instantly. "Come out, Amaya," he roared. Amina froze. He didn't know it was her. He thought she was Amaya. The moment stretched taut as wire. Amaya's heart seized. "Amina, no." Amina's eyes were sharp, deliberate. "Let him think I'm you," she mouthed. "No, don't you dare," Amaya whispered. But Amina stepped forward anyway, placing herself in Mwamba's direct line of fire. "You want the Luwanga heir," she said coldly. "Here I am." Mwamba's eyes widened, greed gleaming in them. "Good girl." He aimed. Another shot exploded. Stone just behind Amina's head burst apart, spraying dust into the air. Not because Mwamba missed, because someone fired back. A second gunshot echoed, a third, then a roar of pain. One of Mwamba's men, hidden in the tunnel behind him, fell to the ground clutching his leg. A figure stumbled into the chamber through the darkness. Baraka. He was swaying, blood soaking his shirt, but his hands shook with a gun he had taken from one of the guards. He aimed it with terrifying determination. "You want them," he rasped voice. "Barely a thread you go through me." Mwamba's expression twisted into one of pure, murderous hate. "Ungrateful boy." Baraka gritted his teeth. "You are a monster." Amina took advantage of the distraction and dove behind another boulder. Amaya crawled toward Baraka, trembling. "Baraka, stop your wound." But he shook his head violently. "I won't let him take you. Either of you." Mwamba snarled and pulled the trigger again. Baraka fired at the same moment. The cavern erupted in gunfire and sparks. Amina screamed. Zawadi ducked, shielding her head. Amaya felt the ground tremble beneath her palms. Then silence. Thick, heavy, smothering. Dust floated in the air. Baraka collapsed sideways, groaning, his gun clattering away. Amaya cried out, crawling to him. "Baraka, I'm okay," he breathed. "Just dizzy." But he wasn't okay. Blood spread beneath him like a dark flower. Mwamba staggered backward, gripping his arm. Baraka's bullet had grazed him. "You little rat," Mwamba growled, raising his gun again. Amina burst from cover, swinging a heavy stone with both hands. It struck Mwamba's wrist. His gun flew across the chamber. He howled, grabbing his arm. Amina didn't hesitate. She slammed the stone into his ribs. He doubled over. Amaya pushed Baraka gently aside and rose shakily. Rage crackled inside her like wildfire. "You ruined everything," Amaya whispered. Mwamba spat blood, glaring up at her. "Everything I did was to protect the Luanga name. You destroyed it," Amaya said. "No," Amina corrected, stepping beside her. "We will restore it." Zawadi moved closer, too steady, despite her trembling legs. Mwamba's men, those who hadn't been shot, began to retreat at the sight of the united four. Mwamba clutched his injured arm, panting. "You think you've won," he hissed. "No one will believe you. You are nothing but two abandoned girls with stolen papers." Amaya stepped forward. Her voice was soft, but it carried the weight of the fire she was born from. "These documents weren't stolen. Our birth records, our mother's identity, the sealed inheritance. And this diary," she held up the worn leather book, written by the woman who died protecting us. Amina lifted the inheritance papers. "We have the truth." Zawadi raised her cane. "And the village will listen." Mwamba's face twisted into desperation, fear leaking through the cracks of his arrogance. "No, no, you can't." A deep, trembling voice cut him off. "Oh, but they can." Baraka was standing, barely leaning against the cave wall for support. His eyes burned with fury and betrayal. "I will testify," he said. "Against you." Mwamba froze. "You," he scoffed. "You are nothing. A bastard. A disappointment." Baraka lifted his head proudly. "Maybe so, but I am not a liar, and I will not be your shield anymore." Amina touched Baraka's arm, gently steadying him. Amaya felt tears prick her eyes. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Outside, the rustling of panicked footsteps, faded Mwamba's remaining men fleeing into the forest. He was alone now, cornered, bleeding, defeated. Amaya stepped closer. "Your reign ends tonight." Mwamba's face cracked in pure fury. "If I go down," he snarled, "I'll take one of you with me." He lunged. A roar echoed, not from anyone human. The cave ceiling groaned, weakened from the earlier gunfire. Cracks spidered across the stone. Down, Amina screamed. The chamber plunged into chaos as the ceiling collapsed. Dust and rock cascaded. Amaya threw herself toward Baraka. Amina grabbed Zawadi. Stones swallowed the room, and Mwamba's final scream was drowned beneath the crushing weight of the mountain he tried to rule. Darkness consumed everything. For several moments, Amaya couldn't breathe. Then a faint voice pierced the dust. "Amaya, are you alive, Amina?" Then another voice, weak, pained, but alive. "Still," here Baraka groaned. A sob of relief shook Amaya's body. Baraka Zawadi coughed. "I'm all right. Old bones survived worse." They crawled out from beneath the shattered stones, scraping their knees and elbows, gasping for clean air. But Mwamba was nowhere to be seen, buried beneath the rubble. His reign had ended not with a gunshot, but with the collapse of the very caves where he hid his lies. Amina helped Amaya to her feet. "We're alive," she whispered. Amaya nodded slowly, looking at her sister, her twin, and at Baraka, barely standing but still managing a crooked smile. "Now," Amina said, gripping the inheritance papers tightly, "it's time to show the world who we really are." And Amaya, holding Naledi's diary against her heart, whispered, "For her, for Amala, for all of us." The truth was no longer a secret. It was a storm, and it was coming. The morning sun rose slowly over the hills, washing the forest in muted gold. Mist curled like soft fingers around the broken rocks near the collapsed cave. Amaya stood at the edge of the rubble, staring down at the place where Mwamba Luanga, her biological father, had been swallowed by stone and darkness. The man who hunted her, the man who created her, the man who tried to erase her, gone, not by her hands but by the weight of his own sins. Amina approached quietly, her footsteps soft on the dew-drenched grass. Her face, so similar to Amaya's, bore a deep solemnity. He will not rise from that, she murmured, eyes never leaving the mound of shattered rock. Mwamba was powerful, yes, but the mountain cares nothing for power. Amaya exhaled slowly. Do you think the village will believe us about what he did? About who we are? Amina's jaw tightened. They will have no choice. Not when we bring everything. She lifted the leather bag containing the documents, the sealed inheritance papers, their mother's medical files, Amali's death record, and the birth certificates proving the existence of 2 daughters. Amaya held Naletti's diary close. This was our shield all along, she whispered. She wrote everything. Amina touched the diary reverently. Her voice is strong, stronger than Mwamba's threats, stronger than any lie. Behind them, Baraka limped toward the sisters, leaning heavily on a sturdy branch he had fashioned into a makeshift crutch. His shirt was stained with dried blood, but he stood tall, refusing to show weakness. Zawadi walked beside him, steadying him when his legs faltered. Baraka let out a breath. We need to return before the village fills with rumors. They will have heard the gunshots. They will have seen Mwamba's men storming the forest. He paused, grimacing. If they don't hear the truth from you, they will create their own. Amaya nodded. Her heart pounded with equal parts fear and determination. Then we go now. The walk back to the village took nearly an hour. Zawadi insisted they take the slower route, skirting the open paths where Mwamba's surviving men might still be hiding. But as they approached the outskirts of the village, something unexpected happened. People began to gather. First a few, then dozens. Villagers stepped out of their homes, out of the marketplace, out of narrow alleys, faces filled with shock, curiosity, fear. They whispered among themselves as they saw the battered group walking toward them. Some recognized Zawadi, some recognized Baraka. But most stared at the 2 young women walking side by side, identical in the shape of their eyes, their posture, their haunted expressions. The resemblance was undeniable. Someone murmured twins. Another whispered, I heard Mwamba's men were searching for the Luwanga child. The murmurs swelled like a rising storm. At the center of the village near the old well, the crowd closed around them. An elder stepped forward, a tall, stern man with gray hair braided down his back. His name was Bwana Ntimbe, one of the oldest surviving village council members. His eyes swept across the group, landing on the diary in Amaya's hands. Child, he said slowly, we heard shouting in the hills. Gunfire. Men running like beasts. What truth do you bring us? Amaya swallowed hard. Her hands trembled as she stepped forward. Amina moved beside her with Baraka and Zawadi forming a protective wall behind them. This, Amaya held up the diary. This is Naledi Mirembe's diary, my mother, your former villager. You cast her out because Mwamba said she stole a baby in the fire. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. She wrote the truth, Amaya continued, voice steadying. She didn't steal a child, she saved one. She saved me. Gasps rippled through the villagers. Amina stepped forward. And she wasn't the only mother Mwamba wronged. My mother Amali Tandi died because of him. We were twins, hidden from each other, separated so he could bury his shame. A wave of shock rolled through the crowd. An older woman covered her mouth. Twins. There were 2, Amaya nodded. 2 daughters, 2 babies, 2 victims of Mwamba's lies. She pulled out the documents Zawadi had preserved. We found the official inheritance papers. They name us Amina and Amaya as rightful heirs to the Luwanga legacy. She lifted Amala's medical file. These records show her death was preventable. She raised the birth certificates. These prove we were both born that night. A man stepped forward angrily. But Mwamba said Baraka cut him off sharply. Mwamba lied. He lied to the village, lied to my father, lied to the world. The crowd fell silent as they realized the weight of Baraka's words. The son of the Luwanga family himself was confirming the truth. Baraka continued, voice raw with emotion. He framed Naledi. He hid the existence of the twins. He buried a child under a false grave. He hunted them to protect his own power. A woman pushed forward, eyes filled with tears. Naledi was innocent. Yes, Zawadi said firmly. She was. Amaya's voice softened. My mother Naledi Mirembe died protecting me. She lived in fear because of lies this village upheld. Her eyes swept across the crowd, shimmering with pain and strength. You believed Mwamba. You turned her away. You let her name be stained. Silence fell like an iron curtain. Many villagers hung their heads in shame. Amina lifted her chin. We are here for justice, not revenge. She took Amaya's hand. We want the truth to set the village free. But we also want Naledi's name cleared. The elder Bwana and Timbe stepped closer, and Mwamba Amaya's throat tightened. He is gone. Buried in the caves he used to hide his sins. A collective gasp surged through the villagers. Some crossed themselves. Others whispered fearful prayers. Zawadi raised her cane. Let it be known he brought his end upon himself. The elder bowed his head deeply. His reign of fear ends today. Amaya felt her heart clench. And Naledi? The elder lifted his gaze. We will restore her honor, he declared. We will carve her name in the village memory where it belongs. Not on a false grave created to hide a tyrant's shame, but on a monument of truth. Tears streamed down Amaya's cheeks. Amina squeezed her hand. She deserved that. Baraka, pale and shaking, managed a faint smile. She would be proud. Zawadi wiped her eyes. It is time to heal. The elder turned to the villagers and raised his voice. Gather everyone. Tonight we celebrate the truth. Tonight Naledi Mirembe returns home. Cheers erupted, soft at first, then growing louder, stronger, rising like a wave of redemption. People reached out to touch Amaya's shoulder, whisper. Apologies offer comfort. Some bowed, some cried openly. Amina stood tall beside her sister, the documents in her hands shimmering like pieces of reclaimed destiny. Baraka leaned toward Amaya. You did it, he whispered. You brought the truth home. Amaya looked around at the faces, fear, guilt, hope, all mixing together beneath the sun. No, she whispered. We did it. Together. As the village embraced the truth, Amaya felt something she hadn't felt in years. Belonging. And for the first time, she realized something else. Something deep and solid. She wasn't just the girl from the fire. She wasn't just Naledi's hidden child. She wasn't even just Mwamba's lost heir. She was Amaya Mirembe. And she had survived the flames. Night fell over the village like a soft healing blanket. Lanterns flickered along the pathways, and the old acacia trees rustled gently in the breeze. Villagers gathered around the central clearing, carrying drums, food, flowers, and woven cloth. Word had spread quickly. Naledi Mirembe was to be honored tonight. Her truth restored, her courage remembered. Amaya stood at the edge of the crowd, holding Naledi's diary close to her chest. Amina stood beside her, every bit as steady and poised, though her eyes flicked constantly toward the forest, shadows alert for danger. Baraka had been taken into one of the homes, where two women tended his wounds with herbs and hot water. Zawadi sat on a carved wooden stool, leaning on her cane, her face glowing with tired pride. But none of it felt real to Amaya. She had spent years believing she was ordinary, forgotten, rootless. Now the entire village gathered around her, as if destiny had been waiting for her return. A group of children ran past, laughing, trailing ribbons of bright kente cloth. They circled the center of the clearing, where a beautifully woven mat lay on the ground. At its center stood a wooden post tied with fresh white flowers and tiny beads, Naledi's name carved meticulously into a polished wooden plaque. Amaya's breath caught. Amina touched her arm gently. She would have loved this. Amaya nodded, swallowing hard. She deserves so much more. Zawadi approached, tapping her cane twice as she stood before them. Naledi wanted nothing but to protect you, child. This is the honor she should have received long ago. Amaya clenched the diary. I wish she were here to see it. Amina stepped closer, voice soft. She is here, in you. A wave of warmth and pain spread through Amaya's chest. She nodded, taking a deep breath. The elder Bwanantimbe raised his hands, silencing the crowd. His voice boomed with the authority of time. Tonight we gather to restore truth, to bury lies, to honor the woman wronged by our blindness. Villagers bowed their heads. Naledi Mirembe, he continued, was cast out unjustly. We believed the word of a man who sought to hide his sins. We failed her. His voice trembled. But her courage kept two children alive. And today her daughters returned to walk the path she cleared. He extended a hand toward Amaya and Amina. Come. The crowd parted as the twins stepped forward. Whispers followed them, not of fear or judgment, but of awe. They looked just like Amali. No, look at their eyes, Naledi's eyes. Blood cannot hide truth forever. Amaya's heart pounded as she reached the center. Amina held her hand tightly. The elder gestured to the wooden plaque. This memorial stands to honor Naledi, but tonight her diary will join it. Her story will be preserved, not buried. Amaya nodded and placed the diary gently on the woven mat. The villagers bowed their heads as if witnessing a sacred offering. The elder stepped forward and lit a small ceremonial lantern. Let Naledi's truth shine now and for all generations. The flames flickered, casting warm light over the clearing. But as Amaya stepped back beside Amina, something tugged at her heart. A quiet ache, a longing unspoken. She scanned the crowd until her eyes found Baraka leaning on two villagers for support as he slowly approached. His face was pale, but his smile was warm. "You shouldn't be walking," Amaya whispered as he reached her. He shrugged. "Wouldn't miss this for the world." Amina smirked. "Stubborn fool." Baraka chuckled. "Takes one to know one." Amaya felt a strange warmth fill her chest as she looked at him. Gratitude, fear, affection. She didn't fully understand it, but she didn't turn away. The drums began softly low rhythmic beats like the heartbeat of the earth. Villagers lit candles and placed them around the memorial. Some sang, others hummed. A peace settled over the crowd that felt deeper than quiet, a healing decades overdue. Then the elder spoke again, raising his staff. "The Luwanga legacy must be restored. The estate must be reclaimed from lies. The rightful heirs Amina and Amaya will take their place as guardians of truth." A rumble of agreement swept through the crowd, yet Amaya felt her chest tighten. She leaned toward Amina. "I don't want the estate," she whispered. Amina turned to her eyes, soft but firm. "Neither do I. But we need control of it before someone else with darker intentions takes it." Amaya nodded slowly. "We'll think about the future later. Tonight is for Naledi." Amina squeezed her hand, but as the ceremony continued, a man pushed urgently through the crowd. Sweat clung to his forehead, dirt smeared on his clothes. His breath came in ragged gasps. "Elder Ntimbe," he cried, "a message from the northern path." The drums fell silent. Everyone turned. "What message?" Ntimbe demanded. The man looked directly at Amaya and Amina. "It's Mwamba." The crowd gasped. Zawadi's cane clattered to the ground. Baraka stiffened sharply, but he should be dead. "We saw the collapse?" The messenger shook his head. "The cave didn't bury him completely. Some of his men dug him out. He swallowed hard. He is injured, but alive." A cold fear pierced Amaya's stomach. Amina's face hardened. "Where is he now?" The messenger's voice trembled. "He's heading toward the city, toward the courthouse." Amaya's pulse surged. "Courthouse! Yes," the man gasped. "He says he will claim the twins are frauds, that someone forged documents, that the Luwanga estate belongs to him alone." The elder's face twisted with fury. "He dares—" Zawadi steadied herself, her voice trembling with righteous anger. "He seeks to erase the truth again." Amaya felt her stomach twist. "We have to stop him." Amina nodded fiercely. "If he reaches the city first, he'll twist everything. Evidence might disappear. Judges might be bribed." Baraka stepped forward, leaning heavily on his crutch. "I'll go with you." Amaya shook her head. "You're hurt, and I'm still going." The crowd murmured anxiously. Amina turned to the elder. "Can you gather witnesses? People who knew Amala, people who saw what Mwamba did?" "Yes," Ntimbe said without hesitation. "We will bring the truth, but you must meet him in the city. Show the world the evidence." A strange calm washed over Amaya, a calm forged in fire and battle. She turned to Amina, then to Baraka. "We leave at dawn." Zawadi's voice rose behind her. "Child, are you sure? The road is dangerous." "Mwamba is desperate." Amaya lifted her chin. "That is why we must go." Amina nodded. Together, Baraka smiled weakly. "And this time he will face justice." The drums resumed, this time louder, stronger, echoing the determination that surged through the village. Amaya looked at the diary one last time. The final entry still burned in her mind. "Truth will always find the child born of fire." She whispered softly, "I'm ready, Mama." Because the final battle was no longer about surviving. It was about reclaiming everything Mwamba stole. And this time she wouldn't run. She would rise. Dawn spilled across the horizon like molten gold, as Amaya, Amina, and Baraka stepped onto the long dirt road leading away from the village. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of dew-soaked grass and distant smoke from morning cooking fires. Behind them, the villagers gathered to send them off, faces full of hope, fear, and fierce determination. Zawadi pressed a woven cloth pouch into Amaya's hands. "Inside are herbs for courage and herbs for healing," she said, her voice shaking. "Take them. You are walking into the lion's den." Amaya hugged the old woman tightly. "Thank you for everything." Zawadi held her face. "Come back victorious. Or not at all." Amina glanced toward the mountains. "Mwamba will reach the city by mid-morning. We need to be faster." Baraka adjusted the sling over his injured arm, wincing. "We'll make it. He may be alive, but he's wounded." And desperate men don't move steadily, they make mistakes. They set off at once. The journey to the city was long, 6 hours on foot, though. They managed to borrow an old motorcycle from a farmer. It rattled and sputtered loudly, but it carried the three of them over the rough dirt roads, through winding forest paths, and eventually onto the paved highway that led to the bustling urban sprawl of Kisiwa City. As the first signs of skyscrapers and busy traffic emerged, Amaya's heart pounded. She had rarely visited the city, and never with destiny clinging to her shoulders like a mantle made of iron and fire. Amina squeezed her hand from the back seat. "Don't be afraid. I'm not," Amaya said. "Just overwhelmed." Baraka shot her a reassuring look through the side mirror. "You're stronger than you think." They parked the motorcycle near the courthouse, a towering white building with marble pillars and a constant stream of people moving in and out. News vans lined the street. Cameras flashed. Journalists buzzed around like bees stirred from their hive. And at the center of the chaos, Mwamba Luwanga. He stood on the courthouse steps, bandaged arm in a sling, surrounded by lawyers and guards. His face bore dramatic bruises, clearly exaggerated to paint him as a victim. Microphones were thrust toward him as reporters shouted questions. "Chief Luwanga, is it true there are imposters claiming to be your daughters? Chief Luwanga, what do you say about the rumors of a hidden inheritance? Chief Luwanga, were you involved in the disappearance of a newborn 23 years ago?" Mwamba lifted his chin and forced a pained, righteous expression. "All lies," he announced, voice booming. "Two young frauds have attacked my name, forged documents, and even attempted to murder me in the wilderness. I am here to clear the truth." A wave of rage surged through Amaya so sharply she nearly stepped forward right then. A liar to the last breath. Amina's grip tightened. "We expose him now, before he poisons the truth." Baraka nodded, then pointed to the growing cluster of cameras. "This is what he fears most. Public scrutiny." They walked straight toward the courthouse steps. For a moment, no one noticed them. Then a journalist turned and froze. Her eyes widened. "They're the twins!" Cameras swung in their direction. People gasped. A ripple of shock spread through the crowd like wildfire. Amina lifted her chin proudly. "Let them see." Amaya's heart pounded as dozens of cameras captured her face, the face that mirrored Amina's almost perfectly. Mwamba saw them. His expression cracked. Shock, fear, then fury. He pointed at them with a trembling finger. "These imposters." Amina cut him off, her voice slicing through the air, strong as thunder. "We are not imposters. We are your daughters." Gasps shot through the crowd. Baraka stepped forward, voice clear and steady. "I am Baraka Luwanga, and I stand with them." The reporters erupted. "Chief Luwanga, your own nephew, is confirming. Baraka, are you saying the inheritance was hidden? Is this why Mwamba's men were seen chasing young women in the hills?" Mwamba stumbled backward, losing his composure. Amaya's voice trembled, but with power, not fear. "You tore our family apart. You buried evidence. You tried to kill us all to protect the lies you built." A journalist shoved a microphone toward her. "Do you have proof of these claims?" Amaya lifted Nelladi's diary. Amina held the official birth certificates. Baraka raised the sealed inheritance decree. The crowd went silent, then exploded into frantic shouting as reporters surged forward. Mwamba's face drained of all color. "Those documents are forgeries." "They," a voice boomed behind him. "No, Mwamba, they are not." Everyone turned. Judge Mbeki, one of the most respected judges in the country, descended the courthouse steps with several legal clerks behind him. His stern eyes swept across the scene, taking in the twins, Baraka, and the evidence. "I summoned you, Mwamba Luwanga," Judge Mbeki said coldly, "because serious allegations were brought against you. I had hoped they were exaggerations. But now," he gestured to the twins, "it appears the truth has finally walked into the light." Mwamba's voice shook. "They're lying." Judge Mbeki raised an eyebrow. "Then let us examine the evidence in open court, before the press, before the council, before your peers." Mwamba froze. He had lost his last refuge. Amaya stepped closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper meant only for him, but microphones captured every syllable. "Your lies buried my mother. They nearly buried me." Her gaze hardened. "But truth rises. Just like I did." Mwamba's facade shattered. His mask fell away completely. He lunged wild with desperation, but guards seized him instantly. The crowd gasped as he screamed, kicking against them. "You don't know what you're doing. I am the law." "No, Judge Mbeki said firmly. The law is what will judge you." And Mwamba was dragged inside the courthouse. The crowd erupted in cheers, shouts, and tears. Amaya felt her knees weaken. Amina caught her, pulling her into a fierce embrace. "We did it," Amina whispered. Baraka stepped beside them, wincing but smiling with pride. "Your mothers are watching." Amaya closed her eyes. She could almost feel Naledi's arms wrapping around her, could almost hear Amala's gentle voice whispering through the wind, could almost feel the warmth of a legacy reclaimed. The cameras still surrounded them, but Amaya no longer felt fear. She felt strength. Amina lifted their joined hands into the air. "For Naledi, for Amali, for truth." The crowd roared. Journalists cried. Even Judge Mbeki nodded solemnly. As the sun climbed higher, bathing the courthouse in brilliant light, Amaya felt something deep within her settle, something heavy, something ancient, finally at peace. She was no longer a secret, no longer a hunted shadow, no longer the girl from a false grave. She was Amaya Mirembe Luwanga, daughter of fire, daughter of truth, daughter of love. And she had reclaimed her name. In the end, the truth does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers, waits, and endures until the moment it is finally heard. Amaya's journey reminds us that identity is not defined by lies others place upon us, but by the courage we show when we confront our past. Naledi and Amali prove that love can outlive fear, and their daughters prove that courage can outlive silence. No matter how deeply a truth is buried, it will rise through resilience, through unity, and through the strength of those who refuse to be erased. If this story touched you, share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from and what time it is for you. And if you'd like more powerful tales like this, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these stories alive.